Hi there and welcome to this week's Owl Diary. Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan, I'm the head falconer here at Owl Adventures. I'm talking to you in my conservatory. Behind me is a vivarium we're going to turn into a tortoise table. And out here you can see the snake shed. The snake room there is an insulated shed. A bit later in this video I'll talk a little bit about how that was built and put together. And also you can probably see out there the weather is not very nice. You can see the neighbours' bushes blowing around there. Yes, it's very windy. Another storm on its way. The last storm we had, just a little over a week ago, that was pretty extreme. But luckily, all the new enclosures did not break at all. They were all absolutely fine. I'm just looking out the window now, and there are bits flying around. We just missed that. But yeah, it's another storm. Apparently not quite as bad though. But yeah, we're going to be very extra careful with all the animals and all the birds. But I do unfortunately come this week with some rather sad news. If you've been watching our videos for a while, you'll probably get to know some of the birds. We have two hawks in the team. Roland, he's almost 5 years old, and Jed, who was going to turn 12 next year, but unfortunately this morning I did find him unfortunately dead in his enclosure. Now of course, with animals, every now and then that can happen. Usually if an animal gets unwell, we notice it, especially if we're regularly checking them and we're paying enough attention, we notice things early, especially when it comes to birds of prey. Birds tend not to look ill until the very last minute. And if we do notice an animal's unwell, then we'll tend to the vets, just like Boris, our boa constrictor, who is continuing his antibiotics, because even though it may be helping, the little chest infection he's got, the early onset, hasn't yet cleared, so we're going to continue with the treatment for him. But in the case of Jed, he was absolutely fine this morning at about 7:30 when I went out and checked on him. He was making a bit of noise with Roland, as they do sometimes in the morning, just saying hello to me, just saying good morning. And about an hour and a half later, I went back out there and noticed he passed away. So it was very sudden, it was a very quick thing. It most likely in that case it was a stroke or a heart attack, something like that. He'd eaten all his food the day before, he was at a sensible weight, he was essentially a fit and healthy bird, there was no issues with him, nothing obvious on there that would have caused a problem, and even if there was something like that would have caused a problem, it wouldn't have been so sudden. I know a guy who breeds owls, and he once told me that he had a small, I think it was maybe a little African spotted eagle owl on a perch. He walked past it, got something out the shed, walked back, and it was then dead on the floor. It can sometimes happen that quickly. Maybe a blood clot, maybe a heart attack, something like that. And there's not even any particular reason why that should happen. Sometimes the fittest, healthiest birds you've got, it can happen too. I know other falconers who have flown their birds and they've been absolutely fine, and later that day they've found them dead. So unfortunately it can happen. So it's really sad, it's really unfortunate. He was a great hawk. He used to land on people's heads. He was very gentle when he did it. He didn't grip at all, so it was perfectly safe, but it made for a very humorous part of the flying shows. But we will get another hawk sometime next year. We need two in the team. We use them for lots of different things. We use them for everything: flying shows, school visits, other handling displays, flying experiences, everything, because Harris hawks, or Harris's hawks as they're known, are just such fantastic birds of prey to work with. So yes, unfortunate news to start the video off with this week, but that unfortunately is part and parcel of working with animals. So I think that brings me nicely onto this week's random question of the week.
The random question of the week.
So this particular question we get asked on a fairly regular basis, which is simply, how long do the birds live for? Well, it's a bit like saying how long is a piece of string. But essentially, when it comes down to it, a bird in the wild will normally live far less than one in captivity, in the care that it receives from humans, because in a zoo or a bird of prey centre, or in any kind of home that an animal is looked after, well, it should live far longer than it would do in the wild. So if you take the Harris hawk, for example, the wild lifespan is probably about 10 years. In captivity, they can live to be 20 or more. Unfortunately, Jed, of course, hasn't made it. He only got to, 11 3/4, shall we say. However, we have, of course, got Henrietta, who'll be 20 next year. She's already gone way past her average lifespan in the wild. So it's never really that easy to work out or calculate. But essentially, a smaller bird of prey will live 5 to 10 years, and a larger bird of prey would live 20 to 40 years or more, depending again on the species and whether it's one in the wild or in captivity. So, on to more positive news. The snake room, which I can say again is just out here. Essentially, started off with a frame on the floor using 2 by 1 inch treated timber, put the polystyrene insulation down, and then put the thick boards over the top, the tongue and grooves type flooring on top of that. Then a frame was built on top there. We then had the back wall on first with the polystyrene insulation in. Then the other walls went up one at a time with the cladding that you can see out here, this beautiful treated timber that's there. And then of course the last thing to do, once it was all insulated, was to attach the door and pop the roof on there so we've got the water to run clear of it. Then it's a case of putting in the power and the vivariums and heat it up. And it's gone really well. I'd like to thank Lily, who's been helping me quite a lot with it, but especially Michael. He's actually spent 3 full days and he has actually built the bulk of the actual snake shed there. Certainly the most important part, the structure of it as well, helped with the roof as well. And without him, I could not have had such a fantastic finished product as we've got there. So we find ourselves approaching the middle of winter, and at this time of the year it's actually quite difficult to fly our birds free. There's currently 3 main reasons why it's difficult. 1, the weather is at the minute pretty much every day wet, windy, not the best weather to fly birds in. Number 2, at the minute we've not got a lot of time free because we're doing all the work getting the aviaries built and sorted, which wouldn't normally be a problem this time of the year. But the 3rd reason, this is quite important, there is a lot of bird flu going around, and that wasn't what Jed passed from at all, because bird flu, even though it can be quite a quick acting virus on a bird, it wouldn't be quite as sudden as his death was. And bird flu is around every winter, but the last couple of years, just like another virus we've heard of, it has been extremely severe, really very easy to catch, spreads very easily, and has some really dire consequences. Should a bird get it, there is no cure, it will kill it. And there's a map online showing where the positive cases have been found with the exclusion zones and the surveillance areas, and actually where I am, it's quite close to one of them. So that's another reason to not be flying birds at the minute. Where they are in their aviaries, being handled in the garden is far, far safer. So we're keeping them out from these areas that could be dangerous, where other birds could pass on the illness, and we also are feeding them only food we've bought in, nothing that's been found or caught, even if it's been frozen first, just to be careful. So, treacherous times with viruses around and bad weather, but we soldier on. And next you're going to hear a little about one of the events I did recently at a lovely venue when it was actually quite sunny. Well, it's another day and another event, and I'm here at this venue in Derby, just outside Derby, kind of in the Midlands, I suppose, for a wedding. It's the last wedding of the year. It's a lovely sunny day, which is why I'm being semi-blinded right now by the sunshine, and it's just a handling wedding. So we've got the 3 owls, the small, medium and the large. We've got the small being Gizmo, the Indian Scops owl. He'll be 3 years old in just a few months' time. We also have Bailey, of course, he usually does our ring-bearing weddings, but today's just for handling and looking pretty in photographs. And we have Ollie, my almost 10-year-old European male eagle owl. And they've been really entertaining the guests here as they've come out for reception in this lovely venue here at the Mills at Derby. Now, we're coming up to the end of the year, so on this channel we've got a few more videos to come. Next week's Owl Diary, I'll give you an update on all the aviary building we've been doing. Great progress so far. I'm also going to do an end of the year review video looking at some of the highlights of the year, put them together in one additional video, and I'm even going to do one on the kill count of our different birds. Now, we don't actually hunt with our birds of prey because they're used for display work, but that doesn't stop sometimes some of them going for the odd pigeon or rabbit or whatever it might be, and I thought I'd give a little rundown as to which ones have actually caught the most prey when we've been flying them around over the years. So look forward to showing you that video very soon. Right, I'm going to get inside because it's a lovely sunny day, but only about 5 degrees, and I haven't brought my scarf with me. I'll see you next week here at the Owl Diary. Thank you as always for watching.